think the honorable thing for our species to do is deny our programming. Stop reproducing. Walk hand in hand into extinction. One last midnight, brothers and sisters opting out of a raw deal.
Do not trust any friends or family members. I repeat, do not trust friends.
Okay, I was gonna actually kind of timestamp us a little bit, because like at any moment, racist grandpa could just completely and totally attack Iran, and I would just like to, I don't know, just acknowledge that. That's a thing.
The air? Yeah, the dread of reading the headlines, the threat of war internationally. We could all be fucked at any time.
At any time, man.
Iran's like a week away from developing nukes. That's a problem.
Shit. Yeah, we don't want that, because we know what happens when that happens.
Yeah, weapons of mass destruction. You got to stop them.
Mm-hmm. We're going to need some Watchmen. We're going to need some people to keep an eye on the horizon here on the Extinction Agenda with James
and Chris.
I don't have a thing for you. I don't do the thing.
That's right.
Not in these things, though. Not in the Watchmen talk. Not when we're talking Watchmen number 6 from... This is 39 years ago this month, February 1987. This year marks the 40th anniversary of The Dark Knight Returns. They're going to do a whole bunch of bits in February. It was just throughout the summer, pretty much. But these books are old. I think we already commented on this, but it felt especially old when I was like, whoa, 40th anniversary.
Nobody likes to feel that they're aging, or that their favorite books are aging.
Yeah. But what, ironically, maybe that's appropriate for talking about Watchmen. I loved this comic more than any of the comics we have read up until now in the Watchmen series. I was really taken with this one unexpectedly, because I was like, I don't give a shit about Rorschach, and I was like, holy shit,
really? Okay,
I give a shit about. Yeah.
When I think about Watchmen, this is the issue that always makes me like. It's a centerpiece to me. Yeah,
well, it literally is. It's issue number 6 of 12, right? It's and it does some things that I did not expect, and has a lovely circular structure.
Yeah,
Finnegan begin again on this thing, and I was like, wow, okay, we're still full cylinders ahead on this shit.
Yeah. Also, I feel appropriate for a way to wrap up love. The February for lovers.
Oh,
sometimes when you gaze into the abyss is totally into you.
That's true. Actually, a lot of the images. So what I've been doing on the YouTube channel is I've been making sure that all the images are two figures sort of like looking at each other romantically, in some way. And this one this one is going to have Kovac's mother just banging away on Darla there.
Nice.
Yeah. But it works. It works very well. Yeah. I don't need this fucking shit. I got kids at home. So, the thing that excited me, like right off the bat, is page 1, panel 1. We have a new iteration of the smiley face. And the iteration of the smiley face is Rorschach himself. And this book is going to be like an elaboration of that imagery and this growth from this aspect of the avatar of the smiley face, transforming like fully and completely into Rorschach himself in this comic, and it fucking blew my mind. I was so excited.
I didn't think about that.
We will get there when we get there, but you're going to be like, oh wow, all right, there it is. It's clever as shit.
Okay.
We get so many different iterations of the smiley face at this, like it's almost as if they've been hesitant, and like at this issue Alan Moore just kind of like, it was like, I can just make anything the smiley face, here we go. All right, sorry, obviously my enthusiasm has sort of prejudiced everything, but
No, I'm excited
what
to
do
hear
you?
it.
Yeah. Okay. So the first bit. What you got? What I don't know. What do you like about the first bit?
I like the visual layout of this page too. It just struck me like the way that you get this sort of like first image is the ink blot that looks like the butterfly kind of, and it's visually it's, if you track it with your eye, like you're zoomed
Mhm.
in, you zoomed out, and then you've got the dead dog like with its head split open, and it's just like it's arresting from the start, and then just the use of color on this page. There's the panel on the third panel where the card is placed on the table and like there's the
Yeah.
slats of light over it, like
Yeah.
light and dark alternating, and
Hmm.
it's like it's very thematic. It's that uh the psychologist is asking him, look at it for me, and then what do you see? A pretty butterfly. And then he's like, maybe his answers are sane. He might be getting better.
He's getting better. So another thing to compare the Dark Knight Returns with this comic and a lot of things in the 80s, like even Die Hard, that bullshit pop psychology garbage was always lampooned by Hollywood and comics in the 80s. They fucking hated that shit. A certain brand of writer, and this is that guy, looking behind the Rorschach blot test. And it's an interesting choice to make him sort of a black. I don't know. He's gray templed academic. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't. It's neither good nor bad. It's just different than how it's usually depicted. It's a white fella, like talking or woman talking in these terms, like this positivist, this positive psychology turn, right?
Yeah.
Because later on he's gonna be like, the world isn't. If only I could convince him that life isn't like that. The world isn't like that.
I really
That's
enjoyed the idea of this guy being like his his nemesis in terms of like the comic book origin of like the opposites, like the being defined by
oh
some sort of like
yes,
figure. Yeah, like with this guy's
yeah,
like you're the most positive man I know, and
yeah.
of course it's not enough to stand up to staring too hard at
At the
Kovacs here.
abyss.
Yeah,
That butterfly image is going to reappear. Like we like kind of, I think we know this, particularly by the last issue when we get to Ozymandias's Arctic retreat. I feel that there's butterfly bits floating around. I think at this point, and I skipping ahead, just like the first image of issue 7 is like, oh, here's another smiley face thing. Like it's all the heroes suddenly become smiley faces.
I did notice that. Yeah, flipping
Yeah.
ahead.
Okay. Yeah. And like, I don't know what to do with that, but we're we're becoming increasingly abstract and but not to like a lesser purpose. I guess we'll see by the end whether or not it like is the octopus squid monster also the smiley face.
Well, I
Fucking
mean, it's
stay.
appropriate. It is appropriate for Rorschach because if the smiley face is sort of like the comedian's logo and that sort of cynical like joke of the world, like reflected back at the world, while he kind of understands the reality of it.
Mhm.
Rorschach is a very appropriate character to carry that forward and to wear that badge.
Yeah. Recently, we'll get on to the comic in a second, but recently, so Elizabeth Sandifer has written, extensively about Alan Moore's career, and one of the things they wrote about at some point in the past was about the Killing Joke in relation to this issue, and so the Killing Joke was published around this time. But interviews and so on and so forth, like it stands to reason that it was actually written very much like probably a year, maybe even 2 years before this, but didn't come to fruition until later. And this black and white, this like life is a joke, like a lot of the Rorschach stuff gets a first draft in Batman: The Killing Joke. and like I guess I really see it here. This like the two people sitting across from each other at a table in an insane asylum, Batman versus Joker. It's very much here, but in like much better.
Yeah, that makes sense. And like to put it in the form of a hero is something in and of itself. Like someone trying to impose. I mean, it is there are so many similarities between this and Dark Knight Returns, and that idea of like the world doesn't make sense unless you force it. Like that's being worked out.
Yeah,
just in a different way. Like in a much darker way with Rorschach.
Yeah, much darker way. Okay, so we'll go to page 2, and what I immediately see opening up the page in front of me, I see they're sitting across each other. The Abyss also gazes, and they're looking at each other. And we got the psychologist. What's the psychologist's name? Do we know his name?
No.
Dr. Malcolm. Dr. Malcolm.
Okay.
So Dr. Malcolm's on the left. Malcolm. That's weird. He's a black man. Is that like Malcolm X sort of talk? That's weird. If so, and Rorschach Kovacs is on the right. That's important to note. They're setting up the relationship between the psychologist and the analyst and the analystee. And the first thing I see over on page 3 is like the parallel between Mum and like Mum fucking some other dude, like the Rorschach test. Like it immediately sets up this relationship of sexuality and analysis between these two figures. I have some ideas about what that might mean or what that comes to, but they're not very deep meanings. But that's there. Yeah. But he doesn't like how Kovacs just keeps staring at him, like he's the Abyss. I don't know if that's in that first page or whatever.
It is, yeah. I could stare at him for hours. Fascinatingly ugly, but I don't like the way he looks back. He never seems to blink.
Yeah. Poor Kovacs here, man. This is a rough upbringing.
Honestly, like that hit me. Like I felt the empathy right there, with the because he's just checking in, thinks someone's hurting his mom. She says, "Oh yes, you're hurting me. Oh yeah," and like then he's just checking in the sorted apartment, and after the guy walks out of my way, retard, and then his mom just like jacks him, like just smacks him right across the face. You little shit! I should have gotten the abortion. Like that's
really rough. Mommy! And like what excites and I guess I would have to say sort of repels at the same time. So you start off with page 3 at the top. You've got like the two people having sex. At that point, you don't know that there's a problem, but it's the sexual act. Then you get all the breakup or whatever, and then you get down at the end in that final parallel image. Page 4, panel 9 is now a reflection of a mother like fucking attacking her kid.
Yeah, and the like exiting out into back into the card with the image, the sort of like figures facing each other.
Yeah. And then you have to be like, oh wow, the smiley face suddenly takes on all this stuff. This is what the smiley face means now. Like I think what interests me about this comic is like at a certain point the smiley face, like up until this point, the smiley face is accumulating sort of concepts, but they're very abstract. They're not very emotional. They're kind of like, oh, I want to think about the smiley face and what it means. And now all of a sudden it increases in potency. And I wondered to the extent that like subliminally, does that contribute to why Rorschach is such, because he's very compelling in this, but what's the beats that keeps that alive? It's not just him. Like the books work on you in certain ways.
I have some thoughts, but I'll save it towards the end of this conversation.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I think use of color is so effective in this issue. Like
Mm-hmm.
some of the like a lot of the most impactful moments will have these hues of red and yellow, and again evoking that, picking up on that idea of the smiley face, the sort of like the color palette of it.
Mm-hmm.
They're really working at a high level here. But yeah, like even like exiting out back into the image that evoked all of these memories.
Mm-hmm.
First, they're stark silhouettes against just a yellow wall, and then you just see like the pure abstraction of it back in the form of the card.
Mm-hmm. Some nice flowers and like
Yeah.
and I think what I like about one of the things that makes me like Rorschach in there's lots of things. There has always been a lot of things that are compelling about Rorschach, but at this point, like he seems intelligent, like he knows not to reveal his insanity or
Yeah.
subject position. He's just like, and then even tries to give a little smile by paragraph 4.
Not until he's woven the web and like really entrapped this guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you start to really understand like the how he was formed, and you can't help but feel some sympathy. And I think we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the back matter. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I love again like so effective visually. The as he's led into the cell in the prison, like he's just crowded by all these speech bubbles that are like people like threatening him, like some pretty creative ones too. Gotta roll you in broken Pepsi bottles and like just like all these threats of like rape and stuff like that, violence, peel you. And then the gates close and he's in there and it's just him behind the bars, and then it zooms up on his face. But like he is penned in by all of this text and all of these images,
Mm.
and then it really kind of sets up that reversal of the like his assault in the cafeteria. Uh, I think just like
Oh.
subliminally, like it's just like impressing. Like you just feel a threat to this guy, and you shouldn't have felt a threat to this guy. It's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
fine for him.
Yeah, and I think that like two things to say about this. Stephen Grant, and Mike Zeck, their Punisher comic predates this probably about 2 years, and I'm not saying it like that there's a ripoff in any respect. It's just probably parallel development. The Punisher ends up in prison in a maximum penitentiary, and he more or less says the same thing to himself later on, like, you're not stuck in here, like I'm not stuck in here with you, you're stuck here with me. Which is, I don't know, just like it's always struck me as really interesting parallel, but that's neither here nor there. When he goes into the prison cell, he it's as if because then he goes into the past. The only time Rorschach goes into the past is when he's basically himself gazing into the abyss, represented by the Rorschach blot test. But we don't, like, that doesn't happen here, that transition thing. But we're meant to understand that prison itself is like a Rorschach blot test in some way, like the captivity. Does that amount to anything? I don't know, but that's kind of what the text provides us with here. Maybe like newspaper reading, it'll turn out to be important.
Yeah. I'd love to say that that's like sort of like the justice system, depending on how you look at crime and these sorts of things. But I don't know if I don't think we ever get any reinforcement of that idea.
I think a little bit in the form of the psychologist himself, who is, like the pop psychologist who doesn't, like, I don't know. I guess we'll get into it because there is like a whole psychological assessment at the end. So maybe there's something in there that weren't, like, I didn't think about before, but maybe is there. There's probably still something. These young boys were pretty much going to rape this kid.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that it's like the silence that, like, because he never, even in the report, like, viciously like blinded a boy, never said anything in his defense, can only assume it's unprovoked, but clearly, and it's that. I love that they do that. Your mother's a hooer.
Yeah. he's got a really, like, well, we've seen this. He loves to fuck around with a language, and which is one of the ways in which Garth Ennis, in the, like, if you think about like the British comics tradition as a tree, a lot of it starts with Alan, right? And it's going to kind of flow downwards. And you got your Garth Ennis, who's probably like a particular version of Moore's. This is maybe disrespectful to Garth, but it's kind of how I think about it nonetheless. There's a word play, there's a voice play kind of element to Moore's work that Garth kind of picked up and played with, ran with. Morrison does a little bit of that as well, but not to the same extent.
No, Garth is the master.
Yeah. But I really don't think that, like, whether it's Alan Moore or not is, questionable, but definitely from the British tradition of wanting to have, like, mimic speech through language in comics.
Yeah, I wonder if it's almost like being an outsider to American comics. You're trying to pick up the, like, what you're kind of figuring out how the people speak anyway. I don't know. I wonder if that'd be if that would play into it.
Oh, I don't know. I guess we'll have to. There's an essay to be written, folks.
Yeah.
Just like Dr. Malcolm has to write an essay about Rorschach. So he's still a happy customer on page 8. He's
building his way to a book.
Yeah. His wife's all still into him. They're gonna have some sex. They're gonna, like, make the night last forever. Kovacs is left behind. But what happens at this point, and one of the many things that fucking excited me. So when we first see the Doctor and Kovacs, it's Doctor left, Kovacs right. Now it's Kovacs right or left, Doctor right. Like,
that's fine. I didn't notice that. Yeah.
Right away, the power dynamic is shifted, and it's time I'll tell you about Rorschach. I don't like you. It's just like, oh, you don't like me? Oh, this guy's a fucking loser. I just want to,
for sure.
He's a professional psychiatrist working at a major prison, and he's fucking flummoxed by some guy who got beat by his mama, and turned it like it doesn't. A lot of it doesn't track for me in terms of realism, but in terms of symbology or whatever, I'm like, okay, yeah, like, he represents the soft leftist position, and Rorschach is like the hard fucking red-pilled dude, maybe even black-pilled. No, he's more of a red-pilled guy, because he, like, the black-pilled. We'll talk about this at the end. Actually, we'll leave that be. He's been pilled in some way, though.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Possibly through starting with the murder of Kitty Genovese.
Right. Did you do any look-see about this? Do you, like?
I'm actually well aware of this, because I think I've known about it for like, when I studied The Dark Knight. I wrote an essay on it in university,
right?
And I dug into that. And then I think when we looked at, it might have been what was that British comic called with the gimp mask guy?
Martial Law.
Yes, martial law. I think I was looking into that, and, like, looking into the history of, like, that sort of idea of crime. Anyway, yes. I didn't go back to it, though.
So I don't know, like, it happened, like, there was a lady who was being raped or attacked or something like that. Elizabeth Sandiford writes about this as well in their chapter on this. But it's not true. It was kind of a sensation. Yeah, it was like a sensationalist story that, like, so for anyone who hasn't read the comic and just wants to listen to us talk about this book for whatever reason, the idea is that Rorschach reads some sort of story about a woman who's being assaulted or raped in a building. I don't know what the fuck are we just in a neighborhood. Neighbors heard.
Yeah, it's like an alley.
Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah,
this is so intrinsic. Like, it becomes a part of the mythology of crime in New York City, and that the idea of the ungovernable city, it just stands out in the American national imagination as like 50 people watched a woman raped to death and didn't do anything, didn't even call the cops, and like that is a shocking thing. Like it's understandable, but like later psychological studies would show that there's this bystander effect. Like if you think that someone else is going to call for help, you may not do it. It's sort of like you've put the responsibility in someone else's hands because you don't have to like make that decision. And that's sort of exactly what happened in that situation. Everyone just assumed that they were going to call someone else. So, but that idea of like this sort of like, like people are scum, like the taxi driver, which we got to do someday. But like that whole, there's such a tradition of New York and crime, and like there's sort of like the idea that everyone is just like reprehensible, and the hard rain, has got to wash it away. But that also kind of stems from this vision, which just doesn't bear out in reality.
Yeah, because like people actually called the cops. People there's evidence that the thing, it just didn't happen. Right, like people actually did things, and I don't know, the cops didn't show up in time. Who knows?
It's it's an awful thing that happened.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
but it's not the interpretation is
Yeah, well, what you do with that, like what you do with that is a different thing. I don't know, and like I think this happens a lot with these famous 1970s psychological studies, like the Stanford prison thing, or the Milgram experiment. When you historicize or look into the details of these things, or run different tests, you end up with different results. But what was really what was on hand in the 80s was, I'm kind of wondering whether or not there's actually like a critique of the it is laymen or bystanders. It's an ironically, it's a different sort of bystander effect, where like people would read news reports and pop psychology studies that they would take to be more true than actual psychology, then create straw men in order to battle and show that these fake studies were right. It's kind of the internet in miniature. Yeah,
that's a beautiful way of thinking it. Yeah, just like the slower speed internet.
And so unfortunately Moore is participating in that thing, right? That whole activity.
Well, comics do, and I don't know if Moore's doing it with. I think there's some awareness, because like this is the origin of Rorschach's mask, right? Like he it's not just that he read the paper. He worked in a factory where this woman came in and ordered a dress, and he fucked up the dress, and it created this pattern that was like black and white splotches, and she said, dress looks ugly, I'm not buying it. Or like maybe I forget, didn't pick it up. And he says,
she just didn't like it.
Yeah. Not ugly at all. Black and white moving, changing shape, but not mixing. No gray. Very, very, very beautiful. And so he starts cutting it up and making a mask out of it.
Yeah. Okay, so go to page 10, look at page 3, then or panel 3, and then look at panel 6. The Rorschach blot dress is corresponding with the newspaper. Woman killed while neighbors look on. Again, this is another thing that fucking excites me about this comic.
Right below each other. Yeah.
And particularly since we've cottoned on to the newspaper being so important to the attitude of the comedian and fucking Ozymandias. It's
not just that, but like the link between the two, like that becomes the filter that that is everything that he views the world through.
Yeah, very beautiful dress. And then fucking psychologist dude just Tucker Stone asshole can't deal with it with his little bow tie. Not Tucker Stone, Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson, yeah.
Tucker Stone does not deserve what I just said. He's number one favorite person. That's and then he's just having this fucking ridiculous crisis of conscience. And I just like, I accept it. It's fine. But like, as an adult, I'm like, why is he so troubled by this? Shit.
That's true. A face. See.
Yeah. I see.
Yeah. Well, because I guess partially he's beginning to turn the gaze on it. You know, you think you're a good person,
Mhm.
and you know, you don't care about me. You just care. You just want to know what makes me sick, and that's absolutely true. Like he's trying to get this all this intel so that he can publish a book about it.
And you know, we did talk about how the Kitty Genovese thing didn't exist, but more in good faith fashion, you know, like as good faith interpreters, like obviously he thinks this is real.
Sure, yeah, and I don't even know if they had access. Like I don't know when that study was done, or like the
no. At this point, it's no idea. Wouldn't have had any idea. And so what is attempted to be communicated here is that you're liberal, comfortable. You know, it's like it's really in line with what Rorschach is about, right? You're liberal, comfortable, middle class, intellectual, fat, happy, you know, all that shit. You like the confronting him with you know, like you are going to watch someone be raped if, you know, like because you think nothing's going to happen. And I do think that we could connect this to the nuclear issue. That hangs over all of this. Like Kitty Genovese is the threat of nuclear war. Oh, it will never happen. Oh, someone else will take care of it. I will, you know, it's a cultural bystander effect.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
That just occurs to me now as we're talking, but it's got to be there and contributing or like tied up in what Rorschach is in this moment. Or if not Rorschach in this moment, then Alan Moore in this moment.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like we talked last time about Moore's conviction that nuclear annihilation was at hand within his lifetime.
Yeah. When he dies, we're in a lot of trouble.
Or we win.
Or we win. That's right.
Because not. I'll be sad, but I mean, like it. The prophecy is dismantled. So.
Yeah, there we go. Well, that never stopped the Millerites or. Okay, so he's in the lunch line.
God, it's awful.
It's fucking beautiful. Well, I love the illustration of the hot cooking fat and just on that guy's face and the horror that Dave Gibbons shows. And we don't see Rorschach's face. We don't know how he feels. We're alienated from whatever feeling he might have as he fucking burns that guy's face to death. Everyone else, though, we feel it. It's such a great, like Gibbons, he's very good.
That face might be melting on the spot too. It's
yeah. And then we move to the dripping coffee. That's kind of a morbid. It's kind of the dripping flesh that comes from after that. That's the
yeah.
Even afterwards, it burns on the element. After it's Kovacs, not Rorschach.
That's yeah, he's slipping.
Yeah,
and his wife's terrible silhouette.
Oh yeah, she's fucking the monstrous feminine. She's got her little lingerie on. You can still see the. She's
Remember
she wants
last
some
night
attention.
now when I required attention.
Yeah, that's like I don't know. It's not like I don't know what's my thought here.
I know where you're going with this. I think.
Well, no, I was going to say that in the Elizabeth Sandifer book, and I honestly didn't think about this, and I'm not sure it's actually there, and maybe it is, maybe it isn't. There was something about the voracious black woman who just needs to be satisfied or something like that. And Yeah, and I was like, I don't think that's appropriate.
No,
Like,
I don't think so
that.
either.
I'm like, I don't think that Moore's like even skating close to that shit. Like, she's just a
No.
wife who wants to have sex, and her husband's not doing that because he's growing increasingly obsessed with some sort of white nationalist figure. What were you going to say though?
Okay, this for the first time ever, I just wondered if the subtext was that maybe this has been going on for a while, and that he's gay, because and I don't know what that I don't think it would amount to anything really. I think that's why it makes me wonder. But the because she turns around and says, maybe I notice how often you bring up work when when you know I need sex, and that's like this has only been a few days, I would think, in this confined. So like it can't be, she must be talking about a long history of that. But I didn't really see what that would add, even from Moore's perspective. So I don't know. But unless it's just sort of like the sort of like a feat intellectual sort of thing.
Well, I was just going to say that it's part and parcel to the ongoing 1980s concern with the I don't know, deleterious effects of psychology. That's
more likely. It's like a lack of vitality, it's some sort of like moral failing or something like that.
Yeah. No, I think even like I'm wondering, I'm kind of extrapolating a little further into the 90s. I'm thinking of Basic Instinct, where I don't know what this thought is, but follow me for a moment. There was this fear of women being psychologists and becoming absolute fucking super heroic masterminds. And I just wonder whether or not, if there is a criticism here, it's like the psychologist is as a male, kind of like impotent, incapable of satisfying the woman, and the psychologist, and this is extrapolating into later years, like the psychologist as woman is kind of the opposite. That's kind of really far afield from Watchmen, but I kind of thought of that just now. But either way, it leads to societal ruin.
Yeah. I think there is a lingering thing about it. I think the first studies of like women's sexuality, like just like how do you experience pleasure? What are you attracted to? 1990s, like beyond that, like, and it was like it took that long.
Oh.
It's just something that like is a topic that's avoided, like that's just sort of like almost monstrous to this point, right?
Yeah, and there she is with her shadow in her lingerie.
Yeah. Haunting.
No, I'm too busy thinking about melting flesh. And at this point, though, like he's basically having an affair with Rorschach, and really troubled by that fact. You're locked up in here with me, he said. He's right. He's absolutely right. I can't fuck my wife. Poor fella.
Yeah. These are and look at the next page, like the sort of like the seating arrangement, like it's a pure position of power now for Rorschach. Like you don't even see the psychologist, like he's reduced in size. You only see until the very bottom of the page, you only see the back of his head.
Yeah, for the most part, you're absolutely right. It's just like it's Rorschach. And the only reason you see Dr. Malcolm is just simply for storytelling purposes, just so you know he's there, but barely.
Yeah, and this is where you get the my friends were soft. We were naive and young.
And so Moore and Gibbons are clever enough to know not to permanently reduce. So we're back we're at page 16, and we're actually sort of back to the setup of page top of 2, but it's bigger, and Dr. Malcolm is hunched, right? And Rorschach continues to be like upright in this instance. It's still dominating the circumstance. And yeah, he started taking pills. He's starting to not be able to sleep.
Yeah. Oh, you have friends? Kovacs had friends. Others in costumes. But then you get the sense that he has separated himself in persona here.
Yeah. Okay, so then he goes in. We're looking at page 17. He's going in. The doctor's coming in, and he's sitting down. And it's time to talk about what he really sees when he sees the Rorschach test. And we get another. It's actually was there from page 1, but now here it is, like more explicitly stated. The dead dog's split open head is part of the smiley face. And now it's time to talk about where Rorschach came from. I want to say that Gibbons and Moore cheat dramatically, sometimes with Rorschach's face. My example of this would be 18 panel 4. You can see the stressed out mouth and eyebrows and the eyeballs and stuff. Sometimes they really cheat with Rorschach's face, right? To give but you kind of like pass over it. It's fine, but I just want to. But that too is the smiley face.
Okay, yeah.
With the yellow in the bits. Yeah. And this part where he's uncovering the two things, the closed sign over top of the door description at the top at the bottom of 18 is reminiscent of the Killing Joke. There was I don't know. I guess if you go around, you'll see. And then this bit where he's investigating and he kind of pieces together the girl's death. This is reminiscent of him investigating the comedian at the beginning of the book. Yeah.
Yeah, the long panels of silence and so effective too.
But then we get the cheating at the bottom of page 20, where the Rorschach thing turns into a mouth going, right? It's a really good conceit and it allows them a lot of latitude, but you have to notice the basic cartooning aspects that they employ in order to manipulate the audience. Sure. In a good way, of course.
But. Yeah, it's expressionistic.
Mm-hmm. And then he fucking hacks at the dog, and then the smiley face starts to turn into blood.
Yeah. This hits hard for me, like when I think about this, because of the it's just so effective, because he passes by the dogs at first and beneath his notice, right? Like they're playing with a bone. Doesn't matter. And then he's doing his investigation and looking out the window at them, and then he sees it, and then it hits him. And there's something about this, how it's almost like seeing the dogs at play. This is how I take it anyway. Like they're playing with this. They're somehow morally compromised. Even nature has to be judged in this moment where he snaps. And that's the birth of his sort of like the fragmenting of his psychology. It was Kovacs who uttered, or who said mother. Then it was Rorschach who opened his eyes again.
And he's killing innocent, because the dogs in some way are genuinely innocent.
Like they're German shepherds who have, I don't know if they've eaten human flesh or if he's just like tossed them the bones or whatever, but it's a horror show,
Yeah.
But
they're depicted chewing on the bone with red eyes, and they're all like crazy or whatever. But then when you see them, it's tiger, burning bright. The innocence and experience, all that stuff.
There are attack dogs that don't initially, like, they just look at him with their tongues lolling out, and then he's raised the butcher's knife.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't really like, they don't need to be punished. It's not their fault.
Yeah.
But
except that they violated some cosmic justice too. So like now, this is his MO now.
Yeah.
Everything has to.
That butcher knife coming down is nuclear weapons, and those dogs are us.
Sure.
There's this sense of like judgment, final judgment to get against, like you. It doesn't matter if you're innocent. You've performed these actions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so at that point, dark as it gets. And then like, oh, this poor fuck. he's like our new Moloch, or the original Moloch, right? Instead of getting thrown into the fridge, he gets a fucking super bloody dog thrown at him.
That's fucking
two of them.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. And you get, of course, like, again, the subtle psychological impact of it being like almost as much of a splash panel as you're gonna get, but like the triple row, and then the other one coming through, and just he's bounded by them. Yeah, it's so good.
I haven't done anything, I swear. And then I want to turn your attention to page 24, panel 4. The blood splattered on his coat, like the smiley face.
Bean juice.
Yeah. It's right there. It's right there, man. The human bean juice is all fucking over him. And then he like fucking locks him up and hands him the hacksaw and sets the fire, man. It's fucking
I had the thought, couple of thoughts. One, this could have been, for all we know, the origin of Saw, like the franchise. Like this, like, gives him the hacksaw, like totally silent, so creepy, and handcuffs him. And the guy's like, "Yo, this is mine. You want to give it back to me?" And it's like, wouldn't bother trying to saw through the handcuffs, never make it in time. But like the implications there, like, saw through your hand if you want. Yeah. And then this also reminded me of that Punisher, like what we just saw with the slavers, when Frank douses the guy in gasoline and just drops the match on him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very cruel.
Yeah.
And his voice has changed, like his speech pattern has changed. Well, we haven't heard him talk, but he said explicitly, like, this is where Rorschach came from. And he's talking in that voice, yes, like, this is it. Yeah. And he gives him a fighting chance.
Yeah. But watches for hours. No one got out.
Yeah.
Sorry.
This guy's, and then the fucking psychologist is fucking just completely ruined. I've never heard of such a story. He
that does feel. I will give this the benefit of the doubt that the force of will, like what Rorschach has done with his life, and like the sort of like his reputation must play into it. Because like I'm sure this guy's heard of a serial killer before, like it's you get some maximum security penitentiary, like you've seen some shit.
Yeah, but we don't get that impression from him though. Like he's very like I think that part of the criticism is that he hasn't seen some shit, right? And it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, why would you have this guy on staff?
Yeah, but nonetheless, so we get this sort of apocalypticism of nuclear warfare at the top of page 26. Watching the world burn in response to like the just flame of what I've accomplished, and that too fades into basically into another into the smiley face, and it all gets contained. Like it's yet another thing that excited me about this is like it expands, and then it sucks everything back in and just compresses it within the Rorschach blot test, aka the smiley face.
Yeah.
And then like is a threat to be exploded again in the next issue, or even by the end of the issue where we get a full-on fucking black pill. He's ruined the dinner party, and he's like, "Oh, there is nothing else. We are alone."
Yeah. Get a little
And-
existential lesson.
Yeah,
Existence precedes essence.
Yeah, I
And
don't
there's
like
nothing.
the funny thing, or I guess it's a ironic thing about this is that Nietzsche was an anti-nihilist, so far as I understand him.
Yeah.
And this book explicitly connects Nietzsche with nihilism, and I kind of find that really fucking insulting and annoying in a way that I can accept the Kitty Genovese thing, because at that point he didn't know any better, but there was lots of ways to know better at this time.
Yeah.
And fucking you knew better more.
I think I can accept it because like how many people have encountered Nietzsche and just like taken the wrong lesson from it, and like I'll grant that Moore is not Rorschach, and like that maybe what really is centered is the abyss, right? And like it's not necessarily Nietzsche himself, although there is the will to power, and I think that one of the things like we were talking earlier about like what's at play here. Like I think the interesting thing that Rorschach is he's the ethic of the superhero just taken to the absolute limit. Like it's and it snaps because in this world, you want justice for a thing like that's an awful child murder, but justice can never be morality, and you can only punish things retroactively. You can't actually stop it from happening. So like the whole, the simplicity of morality in comics, this is where the like maximum pressure is put on it, on the street, like on the sort of like, crime level, like your Punisher kind of level.
Yeah.
And this is sort of the extreme response to it. And that's what a great thing to do with the mask and with the figure.
Yeah, you saying that, I think about another contrast between Rorschach and Ozymandias is that he wants to stop the crime of the future.
Yes,
and Rorschach can only do the crime of the past.
Yeah, and I think all of this. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, that's it. I was
Yeah.
just going to kind of elaborate on that a little bit, but
Yeah, and I think that like the confrontation, like as we get to the end, like the contrast between them, really, because we've been through all this, like it really charges the tension of Rorschach's response to learning about all that. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about that when it comes up, but he breaks because he has to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's a compelling, and it is understandable why we talked earlier about how, your friends, university students, all kind of cling to this as sort of like they identify with him, and there is that uncompromisingness, and he's just like he is the centerpiece because he's driving the comic book narrative in the only way that this world can bear it.
Yeah. This issue kind of made me a believer, right? Too am going to throw fat into the face of my enemies, hot burning fat
of all of our enemies,
metaphorically, of course.
Yeah. Do you take anything from the back matter?
Oh, just a few small things. He had a withered remains, one red rose from.
That was interesting.
Yeah, from the comedian's grave.
Okay.
He still had that rose on him, and he smelled of nostalgia cologne for men. We were talking about his like sort of worshipping status of Ozymandias. That's I don't know. That's kind of there, right? He wants to wear it.
Is that a shower too? Because everyone else says he's like smells disgusting. So like maybe
So, but he smells like nostalgia.
Yeah.
And all that Truman stuff and that right wing stuff is still there.
That's what jumped out at me.
Yeah, and yeah, we get like my dad was probably worked for Truman or something like that.
Yeah, which explains because then I remember in the first issue we were talking like why does he respect Harry Truman? And like now
Yeah,
we have our answer because like he's just made up this story about like what Truman must have been like and how like it's connected to his dad purely. And
he
then
dropped.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, just he dropped the atomic bomb on Japan and saved millions of lives because if he hadn't, then there would have been a lot more war than there was, and more people would have been killed. Like that uncompromising
Yeah, exactly.
utilitarian. Yeah,
Yeah. I think it was a good thing to drop the atomic bomb on Japan. That's all I have to say about my parents. Like
yeah,
there's
that's
the character there.
fucked.
Yeah.
And it's so Watchmen, man. That's the most Watchmen fucking thing you could say. Uh, um, and maybe like if you have something else, I'm more than happy to talk about it. But
No.
the last line, first interview with Kovacs is Friday afternoon. Looking forward to it, and that brings you right back to the beginning of the
Yes.
issue.
Very nice.
Yeah,
With a lovely interpretation of what he saw with his mom and
yeah. Oh, what is he? Promises to be a complex case, especially in light of the extreme nature of his vigilante activities. And identify a new syndrome. Again, this is
yeah.
baked into this is again that really concern about psychology that flows from Freudianism in the 30s, 40s, 50s. Particular, you saw it in Mad Men. I think that we're just like nowadays. It feels like I mean maybe it's my own personal sort of experience, but I just don't feel like anybody feels that way anymore, man. Like people people want to be diagnosed, they want to take medication, that kind of thing. There was still a sort of sense that one suffered from moral weakness if one was analyzed
It's true.
and wasn't revealed to be a manly man.
Yeah.
Face it, who read the news.
I want to say we've come a long way with that. And I think but part of it's like that, like the practice of psychology has changed. Like you're still having recent memory lobotomies and shit like that. And like the sort of the
Yeah.
weaponization of psychology and categorization of people. If you were gay, like that would be considered something that you could be whatever, like locked up for, or like treated for. So I mean, I think we weren't far enough from the within recent memory abuses of what like men like this with their diagnoses could do.
Yeah.
And like things like one flew over the cuckoo's nest all plays into that.
Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, like there's certainly something to be said about like over medication and blah blah blah, but like that's a different critique that the 80s as we like pop 80s wasn't concerned with. It was more concerned with like what psychology did with your psychology, like a cyberspace kind of anxiety, like you might get hacked or something.
Yeah. Some you'll be thrown in an institution and just like penned in, and that is they're at the core of like Freudian psychology. There is a bit of that, like there's no way to escape. You can't tell a Freudian no, that's not true. They'll just figure out some way to fit you into that, to pen you in. So yeah, like I get that. I do.
Yeah. Well, we all do. We don't want to be penned in. We want to escape the Watchmen one day, but maybe we can't. I don't know.
Definitely not next month.
No. Actually, yeah, I guess so. Then we're next month we're getting it deep into the realms of impotence and sexual repression. So we're going full on Freud next month, I think. But that'll be next month.
Can't wait.
See you then.
The Watchmen was originally going to be a revamping of the Charlton characters, who were a group of characters published by a rather small-scale publisher, nothing on the size of DC or Marvel. DC had acquired the rights to the characters, and like all these sort of slightly clunky second-rate characters, Alan and I both thought there was a lot of charm in doing something with them. And Alan came up with an idea that would use them up, because certain of them would die and wouldn't be available for sequels and things like that. DC rather balked at this prospect and said, well, could you come up with some more characters? And when we looked into that, it became clear that the characters did fall into certain archetypes, that there was the Superman, the only Superman in our world, Dr. Manhattan. There was the Batman, Green Hornet kind of figure who had a secret cave and a special ship, an owl ship that he could fly around in. There was the detective, there was the kind of down-at-heel Sam Spade character, carried rather to an extreme. And we discovered that what we actually had were archetypes that we could in fact explore the whole superhero mythos with. The origin of that is, I think it was a Roman writer called Juvenal who said, I think it was when the Roman army was going to be away from Rome, the Roman soldiers said, well, what about our wives? And they said, oh, well, we'll get watchmen to watch them. And the question was, well, okay, but who watches the Watchmen? And in a way, not in a way, really, in our book, the rest of humanity is suspicious and despises these over-beings because they're frightened of what they can do. They don't like the secrecy. We show that indeed superheroes have, as it were, been banned by a Senate hearing, you know, that we don't want these masked vigilantes. They've been driven underground. So, again, it's a slight twist because usually in comic books, the heroes are applauded by the general public. They're the saviours of the general public. But we thought, well, maybe they wouldn't be. They'd be sort of admired, but probably feared. A lot of it is just sheer chance. There are patterns within this, the pattern that we perceive, but there are patterns going on underneath it. And that's what we tried to show with these almost subliminal patterns that go through things, echoes, repeated shapes, motifs turning up in unexpected places. I mean, the smiley face, I tried not to do it to the point of becoming facetious with drawing smiley faces, but there were things, for instance, we had these hydrants on the corner of the street that were things that you would plug your electric car into. So they had like a socket with two pinholes in it. And I must have drawn 100 of these until I suddenly realised that this circular depression with these two slits in it and the thickness of the depression was another smiley face.
Back in 1985, when you were creating Watchmen, the smiley face was already as passé as bell-bottoms. Why did you decide to resurrect that rather dated pop icon?
Well, the smiley face in Watchmen came about because Alan came up with a character called the Comedian, who was a comedian really in the sense of the Graham Greene novel, that he was somebody who messed other people up on behalf of the government. And I had to come up with some sort of visual image of the comedian. Now, you immediately think of the Joker. You think of somebody who's evil and nasty, who's got an insane grin. Well, that's been done. He also had to be a really kind of a burly guy. And I came up with this image of a sort of a very muscular Groucho Marx, because there seemed to be something about Groucho Marx that made me think of people like G. Gordon Liddy, you know, with moustaches, something about a moustache that makes a man look kind of